Monsters from Mars is another Easter-themed Goosebumps book, and so the other one is Bad Hair Day, so I think there's only two Easter-themed Goosebumps books, Egg Monsters from Mars and Bad Hair Day. And so, guys, today I'm going to be talking about Egg Monsters from Mars, which is actually a pretty good book. I really enjoyed the book. I was a little bit disappointed, though, because the plot really didn't need the Egg Monsters. I mean, they did kickstart the plot and, you know, all the problems and stuff that surfaced, but they're not really front and center of the book. You know, you'd think about it that they would because, you know, of the title, but they really don't do that much in the book, and I was kind of disappointed about that. And not only that, but their origins of why they came to Earth was kind of skimped over. I get it. In the book, none of the human characters really know why the Egg Monsters are coming onto Earth. They just are. So, you know, it's understandable, but I kind of wish they went into detail on why the Egg Monsters from Mars are on Earth and in this one specific area. You know, like the body squeezers, the comets keep coming from out of the sky, and that is because they want to invade this whole entire city or so and take over everyone's body. That's, you know, why they're in this specific area. But we never get an explanation of why the Egg Monsters from Mars are landing in the main protagonist's neighborhood. They're all landing in this one area, and, you know, there's a bunch of plot holes like that I'm going to talk about later on, and, you know, create some theories about that. And so in this video, I'm going to try to figure out, though, who exactly are the Egg Monsters from Mars. I have two different theories on what they are, and another possible Goosebumps monster who could be that person. And so, but before I continue, spoiler warning for obviously Egg Monsters from Mars. Also some minor spoilers for I Live in Your Basement and, what's it called? The blob that ate everyone. So, really, gonna be talking about the main villain for I Live in Your Basement. That's pretty much it. His powers and capabilities. And also, I'm going to be talking about the very, very end of the blob that ate everyone. Not the main plot of the book, just the very end, which really has nothing to do with the main plot of the book. But anyways, with that out of the way, guys, let's get into our theory about Egg Monsters from Mars. So, basically, in the plot, these Martians come down to Earth. And so, it's made very clear that these guys are native to Mars, and they are made from these giant green eggs that are somehow sent to Earth. That's the first thing. Before I continue on the plot, I just want to give you guys the plot holes on each point. So, it really doesn't make sense that, you know, the Egg Monsters are just dropping on Earth from Mars. Like, unless they were intentionally sent there, which is what I think. I think they were intentionally, like, thrown to Mars by the natives of Mars, most likely, because that's the only way you can explain how eggs that are native to Mars just goes up into the sky and lands all in this specific area. I mean, comets don't really do that. The only time they did that in the Goosebumps universe, I think, is, you know, in, what book is it? The Invasion of the Body Squeezers, when they were being controlled by aliens. So, I honestly think that the Egg Monsters from Mars could be of that same area, because even if they were all sucked from the surface of Mars and out of its atmosphere and then thrown into the atmosphere of Earth, you know, I just don't really see that happening. And also, there's the fact that they have to get through the Earth's atmosphere, which I'm not going to get into too much science on that because I'm really not that strong in science. But basically, most items that go through the Earth's surface burn up. And the eggs did not. I get it, they're strong. It was made so in the book, you know, like, they said that the eggs were strong, but I don't think they could be that strong. I mean, these guys are blob creatures, and they break open the egg and hatch out of it. So, it's not strong enough to outdo the Earth's atmosphere, in my personal opinion. So, maybe they're intentionally planted there, or they were sent down to Earth by a spaceship of some kind. So, I honestly think they were intentionally put there, possibly as invasion force to take over the world, maybe. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll just continue overview with the main plot of the book. But basically, there's this main protagonist. He finds one of the eggs that has landed on Earth, and he takes it. He's very, very into science and stuff like that. So he's trying to figure out which egg it is, and he's surprised that the egg is so hard. And basically, for a little while, he's trying to figure out what exactly is this egg of. But then the creature hatches out of its egg, and he still has no clue what it is. So he brings it to the local science lab, which is run by this guy named Dr. Gray. Dr. Gray is another interesting character in this theory, because he's pretty much obsessed with aliens. It seems like, I honestly believe, as I'll show you in a second, that he's an alien himself. But basically, he grabs the main protagonist and locks him in a room because he's been exposed to the Martians. So basically, he brings it to him, and Dr. Gray pretty much says that he's gonna lock him in this cold room. First thing, it's really weird. He knows a lot about the Martians. He knows that they will melt in warm temperatures, so he puts them in a cold room, which is really weird that he knows that. I just really don't see how he just magically knows that. Maybe he did an experiment on one and they died, but wouldn't they all die since they were out there in the same period of time or so? You know, there's just a bunch of things like that. But anyway, he thinks that the main protagonist has alien germs or something like that. So he locks them in a room with the aliens. And that's not right. That is 100% not right. You know, when you quarantine someone away from germs or alien germs or something like that, you just put them in a room all by themselves. That's it, right? But he locks them in the room where he's getting the alien germs, which is weird. And he's not feeding him or anything. He's just leaving him for dead, pretty much, I think. Which is kind of weird, and I think someone would notice that eventually. And also, when the government, you know what's going on and go over there. After all, I think the science laboratory works for the government. Most likely, that science laboratory works for the government. And so I'm sure since, they found aliens, that the government would be front and center in this town. But the town is described to be perfectly normal, really. And the only thing other than normal was that egg that the main protagonist found and that had been landing all over the place. So I really think the government would be there in some way. And I don't see how Dr. Gray would just leave this kid for dead. And so what I honestly believe is that he is an alien. That would be the only explanation for why he's doing what he's doing. He knows so much about the Martians, but he won't give that much detail on it unless he's trying to keep secrets about it. And also, the reason that he locked the main protagonist in that room filled with the Martians means that possibly he wants to do something. I'm not really sure what. But he definitely has some evil villainous plan. I honestly think he is an alien, possibly a Martian, or something like that. Maybe they are body squeezers, but I highly doubt that, since, these guys probably would have a goal against the main protagonist to squeeze him or something and take over his body in some way. And I think we have seen a body squeezer hatch. Like, we've seen baby body squeezers before, and they look completely different from the egg monsters. So, most likely they aren't egg monsters, but it would sort of make sense since Dr. Gray, who there's a lot of evidence to prove that he is an alien, could be a body squeezer. So I honestly think that maybe he is a Martian. And so that leads me to believe also that they can take on the form of humans. So the reason I went over all that information... Oh yeah, also one more thing is that they can all form together and create an item. So it could make sense for them to turn into a human as well. But anyway, guys, all that stuff that I was talking about, all the jargon and build up and stuff like that, was to basically set the grounds of what exactly are the egg monsters. Those are like the characteristics of these monsters. They can form together, they're slimy, but seem to be intelligent due to that doctor guy and all that stuff, so, you know, there's all that stuff. I'm sorry, guys. So, now it is the time to figure out what exactly are the egg monsters from Mars. And so, you know, I'm trying to figure out more of their physical characteristics and possibly find another Goosebumps monster in this universe that is an egg monsters from Mars. And so I have two possibilities on who it might be. And the first one is Keith from I Live in Your Basement. If you look at his design, especially on the cover, it is almost identical to the egg monsters. Just give me just a second. I will show you. And they look almost exactly identical. I should have, you know, prepared this earlier, but I didn't. I'm sorry, guys. But here is I Live in Your Basement's cover art. You can see it right here. And it looks incredibly... Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm having camera difficulties today. This is a little disjointed, I'm sorry. But here is a picture of Keith from I Live in Your Basement. And then here is a picture of the egg monsters from Mars. They're almost the exact same color. And both can actually form into human beings, which I believe is what Dr. Gray is doing. So that's another huge bit of evidence. And also, he seems to possess human-like intelligence. And also, basically, does the same things that the egg monsters does. Except he's a little more evil. And also, I believe that also the egg monsters can influence dreams. Because that's pretty much what Keith did in I Live in Your Basement, pretty much. I think the same thing's going on with the egg monsters. Because in the end, the main protagonist laid an egg. Yeah, that's weird. That had no foreshadowing whatsoever. And was just out of the ordinary. So that could mean that this was a dream created by the egg monsters, because due to it being just so sudden and out of nowhere. So, really that's all I have for Keith. That was kind of short, like less than a minute or so. I mean, there's really not that much information we have from the egg monsters from Mars, so that means, you know, there's less evidence and stuff to talk about. But the other one, or the other choice, I think is really interesting, far more interesting than them being Keith. And that is that they're the blobs at the end of the Blob That Everyone. I'm not getting into the plot of the book, but basically in the end, there's a twist that the whole plot was written by a blob. And so basically there's this whole community of blobs living on this planet. And, you know, they have human-like intelligence, it seems like, from what we've seen. And they speak English also, it seems like. Which is pretty much everything Dr. Gray is, who I honestly believe is an alien. And so, they also can turn different colors, because in the book there's a green one, I think, and a pink one. And these guys are yellow, so they're both blobs. They both have human-like intelligence. And they both really don't like humans. I think that Dr. Gray was trying to maybe murder a human or something like that. Maybe take him up into space for an experiment. Maybe, I'm not sure about why Dr. Gray wants the main protagonist dead, but that is a possibility. And so the blob people actually do not like humans and view them as monsters, which is kind of cool. And so, you know, there's just a whole bunch of things like that, all in the end of the Blob That Everyone and Egg Monsters from Mars. They're very, very similar, and it's incredibly possible, and also makes sense due to them having, you know, normal human intelligence. They do have the intelligence to lift them up in space, while in I Live in Your Basement, you know, they're living in someone else's basement. They're not that smart, they're not an invasion force of any kind, and they don't really say they're aliens. I think this is more likely that they're the blobs at the end of the Blob That Everyone and stuff like that, you know. And they also live in a world where they basically are humans. They sort of take the place of humans. We know this is most likely not Earth because, you know, what's it called? you know, in the future that we see in the Goosebumps books, there are several different things. We see the future in My Best Friend is Invisible, and we also see the future in TikTok You're Dead. And I'm not going to get into too much details on that, but they're completely different from the future that we see in the Blob Diary 1, if it does take place in the future in that twist ending, where humans have become a minority or something like that. And they've been portrayed as monsters, or like how the blobs are to us humans today. That was a little weird how I said that, but you know what I mean. But I honestly believe that they live on Mars, most likely, because, again, most likely, they do not live on Earth, even though they sort of have similar things, like they both sort of have the same form of entertainment and stuff like that. I honestly believe that's true. And also, if you take a look at the Goosebumps film, they do have a giant blob monster that is pink. And so that one's not the one from the book, guaranteed. So maybe it's the one in real life. And that one seems sort of like a baby one. I don't know, a baby egg monsters from Mars, except it's a different color. Possibly. That explains why it sort of has intelligence, but it's still just a giant blob. And so, you know, that's very similar also to the egg monsters from Mars. And so this video was a little confusing, I believe. But that's pretty much all my evidence I have for you today. It's not the biggest evidence of my videos, but it's still pretty good, I guess. So, anyway, guys, comment down below what you guys think about this video. I'm sorry for this one being overly long. My last one, I was kind of sad that was shorter, but this one is 17 minutes long, my second longest video. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, comment down below what you guys think about this video, and also comment down below if you know of any other Easter Goosebumps books, because I really only know Bad Hair Day and Egg Monsters from Mars. But with that out of the way, guys, that's the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching.